Hey, it's Jack, no K, Jack in the attic. And the cat was here until I got out the lint roller. Why is she scared of the lint roller? Girl, this is your fault. There is no lint. There is truly no lint. What a misnomer. This is a cat hair remover. So this video is actually going to be a little bit different in format. I have been filming just little bits of my life here and there throughout the last week. So just crafty vlog moments, I guess. Less of the actual fiber arts I've been doing, more fabric dyeing. That's one thing I did a lot of this week is fabric dyeing. And then also I dyed yarn for the first time. However, that's going to be an entirely separate video because it's just long. It's a long process. I will show you the two minis that I did test dyeing on that I'm obsessed with. What if all yarn looked like this? What if this was the only colorway in the world? I'd be okay with that. It's obviously not perfect. There's a lot of blue where there's supposed to be black, but oh no, yarn dyeing is really fun. What did I expect? What did I expect? So I'm gonna go ahead and throw it to past me. Here are all of those vlog clips, and then we'll come back and talk about the finished objects and all of the other things I've been working on. Okay, so this is my dedicated dye pot. I didn't do that. This is my dedicated dye pot. I have never used this particular fabric dye before, but it seems pretty simple. This one does not specifically say to fully saturate the fabric beforehand, but I'm definitely doing that anyway because I've seen sloshy fabric dye jobs and I'm not messing with that. So I'm gonna throw all the stuff in and then show you the soup. So it looks a little tiny bit purple. I put in the dye packet and the color intensifier. I don't know why it's stained yellow, it just is. That's all mixed in. So the garment I'm dyeing is like a secondhand polyester. I'm positive it's from Target, from the teen section. Okay, I thought I stirred in all the dye, but more little undissolved clumps keep showing up. So I'm just gonna keep stirring for a while. So I did pre-saturate the fabric. I made sure that before doing that it was within the 1 to 3 pounds that this is meant to dye. Apparently with this dye I don't have to add any salt or dish soap or anything. That's what the color intensifier is, I'm guessing. I don't know how much more I need to stir, but apparently I'm supposed to put the fabric in and then bring it to a boil, maintain temperature for a half hour to 1 hour, stirring frequently. So pretty much the rest of it is normal dyeing instructions if you're familiar with RIT dye, which is what I have used before. So we have this teal waffle knit cardigan. I love the fabric. I love waffle knit everything. And I think it's very comfy and cozy. I just don't like the color. Between the color and, oh, that's going well so far. Between the color and the fabric, it's like identical to a baby blanket I had as a very small child. So I don't know what that means, but I'm turning it black. These are my dedicated fabric dye tongs. I might add a little more water. Okay, I'll see you, I don't know, soon? For you, it'll be very soon. Crisis, a little bit of a crisis, oh God. I'm turning it down to a simmer, I think. If you can hear Passionate Kelsey in the background, I didn't have time to turn off the video. Okay, bye. Okay, 2 things. 3 things. I couldn't find the 2 dish towels that I already ruined with black fabric dye, so this is as good as it's gonna get. Second thing, this is stinky. This is pretty stinky, so just a heads up. Third thing, I found a discrepancy in the instructions. Add fabric, bring to a boil. Bring to a boil, then add fabric. Which one is it? I know it doesn't matter. I know it doesn't matter. But if there's an inconsistency, I'm going to be the one who finds it, and that just happened. Okay, so confirmed a rolling boil is just not realistic for my specific pot, but I think a simmer is gonna be fine. So two of the things I do with other fabric dyes to get more consistency is to make sure there are no bubbles in the fabric. Like, part of it can float up if there's air trapped under there. And then I used to stir like really the whole time, and that was tedious. So now I stir about every 10 minutes, and I make sure to actually flip the entire garment each time, because there are always going to be little bits poking out. So I just make sure they are different little bits each time. And that has worked for me. So no longer a crisis. That's good. Okay, I turned the heat off. It's still bubbling a little bit. I did give it the full hour in lieu of a rolling boil. You know, I figured I'd give it the best shot I could, but the water is still so opaque black that I'm obviously gonna run around and see if I own anything else polyester that is not black yet, and see if I can fix that. So I'm going to carefully move this to the sink, rinse it a couple times, and then if there is anything else that I put in the dye pot, I'll probably show you, and then if not, I will just show you when it is done and washed and dry. Okay, so one of the cool things about this dyeing plastic specifically is it dyed the buttons as well. That's great. I didn't even think about that. It did dye my gloves. Just gothify everything, I guess. It did not stain my hands, which is great. My nails are blue because I washed my freshly dyed hair last night. So, is it a little charcoal, not black? Yes, but we'll see. Okay, I did find one more thing, and it is this green sweater, also a second-hand green sweater. Maybe I have a lot of those. But I decided to dip dye the bottom and make it more swampy. I have no idea how this is gonna work, but I think it's gonna be cool. I'm just trying really hard not to let this touch the heating element or even stay on the hot, dry part of the pot for too long, so I'm moving it pretty constantly. In maybe 10 minutes, I'll add a bunch more water to the pot and maybe submerge nearly the whole thing, just so it has a nice gradient. I'll let you know how that goes. This is so steamy. Okay, so I think I found a solution, and it was magnets. It was magnets the whole time. I don't think you should do this, but it's technically physically possible. Don't take my advice, unless you take the advice of not doing this. Take that advice. All right, so that didn't really work. I, for some reason, thought this was a higher percentage of polyester, but it's actually like almost half rayon. So it's a darker teal. It's darker in real life than it is on camera. So I'm going to dye this a second time with regular RIT dye because this works on rayon. Yeah. However, the good news, okay, don't lay things on the stove burner, but the good news is that the dip dye on this sweater worked perfectly. Like, it's truly black. And on the sleeves as well. Like, that worked out really well. success. Pending. We'll see. Okay, so back to the cardigan. I have pre-saturated this and really squished all the water in because I thought I did a good job last time, but there was a spot on the sleeve. So a dry spot, I mean, that didn't pick up dye. So I did go ahead and mix in the dye powder. I mixed in salt and a teaspoon of dish detergent, dish soap, I guess detergent. That implies washing machine for me. No, it doesn't. Dishwasher. You know what? I put in dish soap. Let's just leave it at that. I will say, obviously I'm no better than anyone because otherwise I wouldn't be doing round 2 right now because I misread the fiber content, you know. But the error I see most people making is not pre-saturating the fabric. That's when you're gonna get weird spots and a tie-dye effect that you're not maybe necessarily going for. So it is in the instructions. I am going to be eternally annoyed by one short form video I saw where someone swore they followed the instructions to the T by putting in dry fabric. Couldn't be me. I will make different mistakes, cooler ones even. So this is going in the pot. Going to continue to raise the temperature until it's like just barely simmering and then leave it for at least 30 minutes. Ooh. I am not going to let it actually boil this time because I have already cleaned the stove twice today. I will say one part of the instructions I literally never follow is using 3 gallons of water per pound of fabric. I simply do not have a 3-gallon pot. I just don't, and I don't intend to obtain one. So this cardigan is like 8.5 ounces. I'm just doing my best. I'm just trying to not have a repeat of yesterday. It's as full as I am comfortable making it. And again, every 10 minutes or so, I do turn the entire garment over. And I have had, you know, besides with this garment, I have had pretty decent results with that method. So I am not gonna buy a giant stock pot or anything. This little cauldron shaped pot I think is so cool. So this is my dye pot forever. Okay, one more thing I wanted to talk about that I forgot to do before we put this in the pot. So Rit black dye leans purple. It leans so purple. So had this garment not already been greenish, I would have added a splash of neon green. I keep this on hand to kind of color correct the purpleness. And it usually depends on the color of the item I'm putting in. I got that neon green specifically for kind of a warm, neutral item that I wanted to dye black. So I had to kind of combine all the factors in my mind. I decided neon green would be best. I don't know, maybe an orange would be better. Maybe just straight up yellow. Color theory gets hard when you're mixing 3 colors together and you're me. So anyway, I am hoping that the greenish color that this piece originally was is going to help counteract some of the purple. I think worst case, it just leans blue. That kind of is worst case. I don't love that. I would prefer for it to lean green instead of blue. Hey, actually, I'm gonna add some neon green. I'm glad we talked about this. I just don't want to take any risks with the bluish. Ideally, I should have done this at the very beginning of dyeing, not in the last like 10 minutes. So I am going to leave this longer. I have plenty of time today. I'm not going to be needing the stove for a while, so I'll probably just leave this going for another 20-30 minutes. That's probably the last update on this. I will show you the finished product once it is washed and dried. And hopefully this is the last of our fabric dyeing adventures this week. Actually, forget I said that. I have a package coming in the mail. This is not going to be the last time you see this dye pot, and next time it's not going to be fabric. Pretend I didn't say anything. That's a secret. All right, that's looking pretty dark. It's maybe charcoal instead of black, like after it's washed. I'm not sure. So I lied about that being the last update because oops, I can't stop myself. Here goes my crochet corner to corner shawl. It's just a little too blue, you know? I had that debate with myself. Is this yarn actually dark gray or is it blue? And it had one of those ambiguous names that's like Midnight Sky or whatever. So I hate to waste extra dye, and I hate not dyeing everything I own black, so I'm holding the camera upside down, I just realized. Fix it in post. Okay, last update for real. I'm not gonna film anything else until these are done and washed and dried. I'm out of control. I feel like the color looks completely different on camera, but I finished the Riala shawlette and I need to block it still. I had kind of a huge issue that ended up being okay. I will explain some more later, but I think the lace is so cute. I ended up having to cast off with 2 strands of the alpaca lace instead of the main color, or instead of both strands. So I actually think that looks kind of cool. Anyway, I'm gonna go soak this and then I'll block it tonight, and then you'll get to see the final result. I like how it looks like the no, it doesn't. I was gonna say the Nightmare Before Christmas Hill, but it doesn't. Whatever, you see what I'm, whatever. Bye. Okay, I'm at the library for knitting night, but I broke one nail on the way out the door, so it's just gonna look and feel very weird. I'm working on the Autumn Leaves top, Autumn Leaves linear top. I actually finished one of the panels, so I just started the other one, and I should be working on other things, but this one's, I don't know, I want to work on it, so I'm here. Welcome to casual time. You can tell it's casual because I'm using overhead lighting. I'm lint rolling this project before I tell you what the problem with it is. What they don't tell you is that if you don't make mistakes, you won't have to fix them later. So if you can do that, do that. The sleeves, I wear them all the time. Don't worry about my elbow. It's not knitting related this time. I just have sensitive joints. If you ever see me in any kind of compressive sleeve, like, that's just my life. So the sleeves that I wear all the time, I can't remember if I mentioned this in the video where I like unveiled them, like, hey, this is finished, but in the very front, on a short row, I dropped a stitch at the end of the short row and had truly no idea how to go back and pick it up. And I had no idea how to go back in short rows. Like, that's not something I'm knowledgeable enough to figure out. So that's been bothering me. I thought it would just be no biggie. I think what I'm gonna do is make like a fake duplicate stitch to fill in that gap, which is also not correct, but I think it's gonna look better. So I'm gonna do that right now. Can you keep a secret? I dyed a lot of yarn last night. And that's not something I do. I don't dye yarn. I'm not a yarn dyer. Except, turns out it's really fun. And I actually really like to do it. So that's interesting. I'm not gonna show that in this video because I filmed basically the whole thing. And that's gonna be its own video. I am worried that the footage is like nearly unusable because it's in my very poorly lit kitchen. But I'm gonna have to say oh well to that. Unfortunately, the lighting in my kitchen is not something I can control because they're the huge tube lights and I cannot. Actually, am I in charge of those? Every time I've rented an apartment where the kitchen had the long tube lights, maintenance has replaced those for me. And now I'm maybe realizing that that was not something they needed to do. Did they just do that for me because I asked? I don't know. Am I supposed to replace those myself? Aren't they supposed to last like a million years or something? Okay, yeah, I was trying to get a good visual. Let me try it on before weaving the ends in all the way to see if it looks better. Because at this point, I can still take everything out with no damage and no worries. Okay, it doesn't look right, but it doesn't look awful. Let me give it one more pass just to see if I can get it a little bit cleaner. But, like, in general, that is much better. I did weave in the ends a little bit so that I could safely try it on without, like, stretching the new stitch out of place. So undoing that might take longer than the actual repair took. I never said working with black yarn was easy, I just said it was possible. The lady has arrived. Hello, lady. Hello? That's, yeah. No, I agree. No, I'm not. Well, now I'm never gonna get anything done. Yes. Well, don't step on the thing I'm working on. Thank you. So there has been a slight change in our household. Nothing dramatic, nothing bad, but enough of a change that the cat is now louder than ever. She's just more vocal these days. She's been doing this fun thing where every time I'm in a Teams meeting, if I'm working from home, she will hear me talking, think, oh, that must be for me, I'm assuming. And she will come jump on my lap and join the meeting. That is not as bad as the time she jumped onto my lap while I was making a phone call. And I ended up leaving a voicemail. And in the middle of it, Lyra meowed very loud directly into my headset. So I wish I could hear that voicemail. I think that worked. Let me just secure this without going crazy this time. I'll try it on again. I can't tell which one is the fake stitch, so I think this is going to be totally fine. Now there's a cat on my lap. It's a little harder to scoot. Also, she's afraid of the tripod, so if I move the tripod, she's going to freak out and run away. Can I just gently No, don't leave. Okay, whatever. Okay, that's still not, like, as good as having done it right the first time. But it looks a lot better to compare these two sections right here. I think they're not that different. Oh, when I do that, it just disappears completely. Okay. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Let me weave in my ends, and then I'm done. Easy fix. There's actually nothing quite like a black lip mark on a coffee cup. This is a tinted lip balm even. It's the Mob Beauty M138 lip balm. Black lip balm, who knew? Anyway, I just think that's so funny. I have no idea what order I'm going to talk about things in, but I'm going to talk about this first because it was finished like half an hour ago, so I remember it. I am so pleased. It's just fixed. You can still see that it's a little bit not quite right, but if you're looking that close at my neckline, don't. Hair fixes many things. So the fabric dyeing, I have had decades of struggles with fabric dye at this point, with RIT dye specifically. So realizing that the Jacquard iDye Poly has like better reviews may have been a little bit of a game changer, because look at how this is actually black. I did a gradient dip dye, you saw, but look at how that's actually black. Like, it actually looks good. It actually did what I wanted. It's all crumpled from being in my laundry basket because I live out of a laundry basket, but I will try it on and put in a clip of that so that you can actually like see the whole thing. Oh. Ta-da! It's all wrinkly from being scrunched up in my laundry basket, but other than that, I really like it. The reason I bought the dye is this teal little cardigan that I got secondhand, and it's from, I think, Wild Fable, or whoever the like Target, yeah, Wild Fable. It was a teal color that like I like, but it's like too light and it's a little more blue than green and whatever. So I thought I would over dye it. I'm like, oh yeah, polyester, I'll get the dye for polyester. And then I looked at the tag and it's like, well, the tag dyed really well, so it's very hard to read. It's like 64% recycled polyester, 33% rayon, and 3% spandex. So not enough polyester to just dye solid black. And the Jacquard iDye does not dye rayon because it's a different thing. But RIT is supposed to dye rayon. So as you saw, I dyed this with both types, and this is the color it turned out. That's not black at all. However, I love this color. It is like a very deep, dusty, dark green. Everything I own is covered in cat hair. So I have actually been wearing this kind of nonstop. Who says I don't like color? I love this color. I'm also wearing brown. I said I was trying to incorporate some brown into my wardrobe this year. I'm wearing brown. Sovereign had a sale and I got a little overwhelmed. Whatever. I love Sovereign. Anyway, so despite this not technically being a success, I think functionally it was very successful because I love it and I've worn it 3 or 4 times since I dyed it earlier this week. very pleased. I just hope it doesn't fade as I wash it more. And then, because I cannot leave a pot of dye alone until the water is like clear, I will just keep adding stuff to the dye pot. Anyway, the corner to corner crochet shawl that I liked, but I thought the color was a little more blue than I was expecting. Oh, the cat scared me. Anyway, this is my most successful black dye ever. Baby reveal. Hello. That was like a magic trick. Thank you. Yeah, no, I know. I'm not gonna pay you for that. I didn't hire you as a magician's assistant. Anyway. Black Rit dye with, I think, a tiny splash of the neon green worked perfectly on this. It's just black now. There is still a little bit of the tonal variegation, so it's not just solid black void. I love it. This is exactly what I wanted. So this, because it is thick and heavy, is going to continue to be my very cold weather, yeah, all right, you know, be wherever you want, my very cold weather, actually for warmth piece. It has served that function now through a literal blizzard and blizzard-like conditions, so it's good. I love it. I may or may not be entering my shawl era because I have 3 shawls with me right now. The Luna Moth shawl that I showed in my last video. Here's a reminder if you forgot, because I have been wearing this everywhere. It's just so cozy. 2 days in a row, I wore my weird green cardigan with the shawl on top, and I think they look great together. So I'm really getting a lot of use out of this shawl. Honestly, more than I thought I would. I didn't know I was necessarily like a casual shawl person. I thought it would be good to have a big shawl. I didn't realize I was just going to be wearing it on a daily basis. So the third shawl, it's a shawlette. It's a mini shawl. It's a 1 skein project that I used the Dracula yarn from Knitting Nakabi's Goth Literature Mystery Yarn Club. So before I show you, this is the, I think, Riala shawl from Aja Borrego, and there was a note in the pattern that I missed that said be sure to leave half of your yarn, like by weight, for the lace section. I missed that, and I'm holding lace alpaca with the main yarn, and that's a lot to unravel. So I skipped half of the lace section. There was a pretty clear mark, like a halfway point where it was pretty reasonable to cut it off. So in the actual pattern, the lace is like twice as long. I skipped the middle section and I just did the end of the lace. But I think if you don't have that context, it looks perfectly fine. I think it looks great. I love the little pointy parts. I think they would be more distinct if I had actually followed the pattern for real. But I still think it's lovely. So, it's very soft. I love how it fits. I love the little, like, curly bits at the end. I like how that curls up. You may notice that the edge is like solid black. That is because even with skipping half of the lace section, I did not have enough yarn to bind off with both colors. So I bound off with 2 strands of the alpaca lace weight instead. And honestly, I think it looks cool. I'm not mad at it. So this game of Extreme Yarn Chicken, did I win? Did I lose? Is it winning Yarn Chicken if you had to make several alterations to make it work, but it did eventually work out? Is that winning to you? What is I don't know. Someone let me know. Did I win? Anyway, I haven't had a chance to wear this out yet because it really just came off the blocking board a couple days ago and I haven't been anywhere since. I have to like choose which shawl to wear now. I have competing shawls now. Someone in the comments gave me the idea of doing a pattern roundup of just like mini shawls and kerchiefs and bandanas because I love them and I love making them, and they're a great one skein project. Usually by design. This one was just kind of coincidence. So get ready because I'm absolutely doing that. I already have a video's worth of patterns for that. So that may even bump some of my other videos down the priority list because I'm very excited about the idea. So that's my third shawl. Actually, I think it looks pretty good with this color of brown. And I should say again, it is kind of impossible to get the colors accurate on camera. I don't know why. It just gets very washed out. So just know it looks cool in person. Is that helpful? I need to move, but there's a little baby on my lap. Say hello. No, say hello. I actually still have several more things to talk about. It's basically just like what is in my reach at this moment. Speaking of little kerchiefs and bandanas, let's go through. So I have been crocheting some too. We have this one. We have this one. We have this one. We have, surprise, this one. We have this one. We have this one. We have this one, which is kind of a shorter one. Well, it's long, but it's short. What am I trying to say? This one. And then we have this one. And then we have a bucket hat. Surprise, a bucket hat. I thought it would be fun to mix it up. Can you not loudly chew on your toes right now? If anyone has leads on a new assistant who is professional, not going to be bathing directly off camera, let me know. I did very recently, remember how I said the next thing I cast on was going to be the tank top for my partner, and I mean it this time because there's a birthday coming up, and so it makes sense to actually finish this in time for that. So I did actually swatch for it. And the pattern I was thinking of, I think it's the Easy Tank Top. Yeah, it's the Easy Tank Top by Easy as Knit. I did go ahead and swatch for that. One thing I will say that annoys me is when something is knit in like 2x2 rib or something that is especially stretchy, and the gauge does not specify whether that is stretched or completely relaxed or what. So I actually measured slightly stretched, like just a comfortable amount that a garment should stretch, counted the stitches per 4 inches, and then compared that to the number of stitches of the finished body circumference. It was a whole thing, but basically what I'm getting at is that even though I have DK yarn that I'm trying to fit into a sport weight pattern, I didn't have to make any adjustments at all, or I shouldn't anyway, based on my swatch. So I have one skein in black and one in red. We're doing stripes. This is the Cascade Hampton. It's 70% Pima cotton, 30% linen. Two of these should be enough for a tank top. I have made tank tops out of 50 grams once. I have made tank tops out of 100 grams. So I feel like 200 grams should be plenty. Watch me be totally wrong. I know I should like block a swatch before I really consider it done, and I will do that, but based on the information I have right now, it looks like I'm going to be able to use the recommended needle size. And even if after washing it changes, I at least know that I can use this yarn for this pattern, and that's what I was concerned about, so pretty relieved. So I should be casting that on this upcoming week. It's Saturday right now. And literally who knows when this is going to be posted. Taking a weekend off has been nice. But I have also just sort of forgotten my schedule. I just got a notification. I got a package. It's more yarn dye. I dyed 4 skeins of yarn last night. That was maybe too much for one night, especially as my first yarn dyeing experience. But now there's more in the mail. The weather has improved significantly in the past couple of days, so it's a little bit of a hike to the mailbox, and I'm excited about it. Anyway, excited to cast this on. I really like working with cotton and linen yarn. It does feel kind of like dry, so I would not like it as much if it was still extremely dry hand season. The other stuff I've been working on, I have in my, this was my Crucifix bag. This is not official Ghost merchandise. This is from like Redbubble or something before the band was like maybe big enough to sue. It was a gift, I don't know. Anyway, the Autumn Leaves linear top I have been working on. I have been working on it a lot for fun. I don't know, I didn't expect to. But I've been going to a lot of knitting nights. I've been so social lately. It's not like me at all, but it's fun. So I actually finished one half of it. I would love to do a little mid-project block of just this panel so that I can really see this leafy lace. But yeah, I love how the colors are looking. It looks better in person, I think, than on the camera. As always. I know it's gonna grow a little bit because it's superwash merino, so it's gonna be a little bit longer than it is now. I really think it's gonna be what I'm hoping for. Isn't that fun? So half of it's done. I have about 4 rows of lace left of the second half. I decided that this is the back, and so this will be the front. And then I went ahead and made several more mistakes on the front than the back, which is not ideal. But so far I have been able to fix every mistake. The issue was bringing something lace to a social event and trying to keep track of that. Not the easiest thing in the world. But again, I'm pretty sure I've been able to fix everything. It's usually just going back a row and adding a yarn over where I forgot to put one. Almost every time that's been the issue. I'm not as concerned now as I was like 2 days ago. Named after autumn, yes, but I'm excited to wear it in the spring. I have also been bringing my Hylia dress to these craft nights because it is a lot easier to just do plain stockinette in the round when you're talking with other people and there's a lot of stuff going on. So I've made some decent progress. This is probably, I don't know, twice as much of the skirt as I had the last time I showed it. I don't know if that's true. It feels true. But yeah, I think it's looking good. I have had to kind of admit to myself that this is not getting done while there is still cold weather in which to wear a wool dress. It's not happening. I should have started it in November. December at the latest. So I am really trying to free myself of the expectation that I put on myself to have this finished in time to wear this winter. I, by choice, have had so many other projects going on, and honestly, editing time takes away from my knitting time. So do you hear the little cat snores? There's little honking noises coming from about 2 feet off camera. That's the cat snoring. So I can't stop her. I'm not gonna wake her up. She's so cute. Okay, so we're just gonna deal with the honks. Anyway, I have accepted in my heart that this is just gonna be something I work on throughout the year, and then I will be stoked to wear it in the fall. Did that sound believable? I feel like I mean it. I think I mean it. Like, I think I have actually accepted it. Fingers crossed. I don't need to be rebagging these right now. So the last thing that I've really been working on is the same spin that I've been working on. Let me grab it. Okay, so don't make fun of me. I don't have any bobbins. I have been looking for just some empty bobbins to store my spins on. So here's the toilet paper roll. Anyway, this is the first third of this spin that I've been working on. And here is where I'm at on the second third. So it's looking pretty consistent. I'm getting about a fingering weight for these singles. A little bit thinner in some places. But yeah, it's kind of just going well. I would have more to say about it if it wasn't. It's kind of just going well. I actually haven't been keeping up with my 10 to 15 minutes a night, and I miss it. I would like to get back into that. I think the issue has been that I have been out more in the evenings going to crafting events. So when I come home, I'm just not thinking about it. I'm out of my regular routine. It kind of throws everything off. Even if it's fun and for a good reason, it throws everything off. I think I'm going to pause the autumn leaves top and switch to the black and red tank top as my main focus piece right now. I do have fewer whips right now than usual, which is nice. I do like having the variety. I like having, you know, choices of what I want to work on at any given time. But it is kind of overwhelming. It feels a little cluttery. So that's just to clarify, I'm really not against having as many whips as you want. That's, why would I care? I don't care. It just gets a little overwhelming for me personally. That doesn't stop me but then it does become a problem that I have to fix. It isn't, but it feels that way. There are literal birds singing outside my window. Is it spring? I think it's meteorological spring, the beginning of March. Is that true? I don't know. My phone's under a pile of shawls. So happy spring. That is actually all I have for you today. I am very excited to show you my hand-dyed yarn. I will go ahead and say there were varying degrees of success, but it was fun. And like, worst case scenario, I can overdye everything black. Knit Picks, please restock your black jacquard acid dye, thank you. Although, let's be so honest, that little half-ounce jar makes sense for the other colors. For black though, I need like the 8-ounce, and I haven't looked into where to get that. I do not need to be dyeing as much yarn as I want to be dyeing though, because then I will have all of that yarn. Do not ask me to start selling stuff, I won't do it. Anyway. Ooh, I could do like custom dyes for my friends. That way I can do yarn dyeing and not have to keep it in my home. That's okay. All right. I'm thinking about stuff. Anyway, I'm gonna go to the mailbox. Let me know what you're working on. Always love to hear what you're working on. I will admit, my favorites list is getting a little out of control. More out of control. It's getting steadily more and more out of control the more patterns I look up from the comments, but that's fine. That is a sacrifice I'm willing to make. So let me know what you're working on. Take care of your joints. Go and live your best yarny life, and I will see you next time. Bye. This is cute. She never comes and sits on my bed. Not like this. Well, if I bother her too much, she will leave, so.
Oh my god, what is that? Is that the blue box? To the left, behind you. Right there. That? Yeah.
Co-star says, make time to observe the ocean. I will not be doing that. Do they know what's in there? Nothing good. Nothing good.